Okay, I hope the lighting's pretty good in here. It's kind of a lot of foliage, a lot of greenery. So anyway, I want to make a video today, and I want to talk. Actually, quite a few people asking me to make some videos about Donald Trump because they're kind of curious about what I'm thinking about Donald Trump these days. And I will make a video about Donald Trump again, but just not right now. I'm more focused on making videos that I think are positive and help people, and not talking about somebody that, in my opinion, is in the presidency with a lot of bullshit. So I don't really want to talk about somebody that, and especially now that he's president. Hey, now he's president, not much we can do about it. The guy's going to do what he's going to do. No sense making a bunch of negative videos about it. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about my past, who I am, what I've done, and how I got to where I'm at today. I try to talk a little bit about sales because I think sales are the most important thing for people to think about when they're trying to figure out how to make a living. Sales is probably the easiest, best way to make a living. But the problem with it is most people don't know how to sell. I know because I've been there. Not a natural born salesman. I'm not a person that just sold the first day, showed up in the office, and a person that just always had an easy time selling. Sales people are gifted just like everybody else. Athletes that are gifted. Michael Jordan's a great basketball player. Some people are just great salesmen. I never was a great salesman, but I had to study the trade. So I'll tell you how I started out. I started out in the early 80s as being a penny stockbroker, just like the guy from Wolf of Wall Street. I was a penny broker just like that guy. That guy's a little bit older than I am, or a little bit younger than I am, but he started just a few years after I started. He was in New York, I was in Denver. I was in a firm by the name of Dunhill Investments. Dunhill Investments. We were down in the Denver Tech Center, along with some other penny firms. One of them, the biggest probably at the time, was Meyer Blinder. So I started out as a penny broker. And when I started out, and if you watch The Wolves of Wall Street, that's all true. I saw all that. I mean, I saw the cocaine being snorted on the tables. I saw the $100 bills lighting cigars. I was around all that stuff. And in the early 80s, it was there. I mean, it was inflationary times. People were desperate for a way to get some return on their money, so they were just throwing money at all kinds of speculative stocks. And of course, these penny stocks had a lot of upside potential. You know, penny to 2 penny. We used to say it all the time. How hard would it be to go from 1 penny to 2 penny? Which is kind of interesting because it had nothing to do with the price of the stock, even though it was a cent. It could have been $100. It just matters the way the shares. You know, the value of the shares based on the number of shares outstanding. So it ended up becoming a penny. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors there. But, you know, and I could talk about it. But anyway, I'll tell you how I got involved. I went to college, moved to Denver, Colorado, looking for a job. Nobody would hire me. Couldn't get on with the banks. I couldn't get on with anybody. Nobody wanted to hire me. It was in my early 20s. So I was in the paper one day and I saw sales positions and stockbroker. So I'm thinking, you know, New York Stock Exchange stockbroker. I'm going to be showing up with a 3-piece suit, a secretary, a desk, and all kinds of cool stuff. And I'm going to be, you know, immediately, you know, respected in the business community because I'm a stockbroker. So I took the Series 7 exam, which you're required to take in order to sell securities. And I took the Series 63, which allowed me to sell in different states. And it took me a little bit of time. It's a few-month program, and I think I failed the exam the first time. But I worked real hard to try to pass that exam because I didn't like to study. I passed the exam, and then I went in, and the very first day, the guy my sales manager, his name's Paul Fortini. I have no idea where Paul is today, but he's the guy that hired me. And when I got into the office, he said, "Now the work starts." And I said, I was really dumbfounded because I thought, now that work starts? What do you mean? I just studied my ass off for 3 months to pass this frickin' exam that asks me a bunch of questions I will never hear again. And now you're telling me the work starts now? I've been studying my ass off, you know, 8-10 hours a day for the last 3 months, passing that stupid Series 7 exam. And now you're telling me I got to go to work? Let me tell you, when he said that, my heart kind of sunk because I didn't know what he was talking about, but I found out real quickly what he's talking about. It was work. And the first thing they do is they sit you in a cubicle and they tell you that you got to start making phone calls. And we start with a phone book, started with the A's and started making phone calls. And it didn't take very long to open an account because of the times. And there was a lot of guys down there making a lot of money. So it wasn't that bad. And you could make a little bit of money. Didn't make tremendous money. So we didn't know how to sell, but we made enough money. And most of the guys in the office, I saw guys in the office making $50,000-$60,000 a month, just like in that movie Wolves of Wall Street. They drove Porsches, and they lived in nice houses, and they were making tons of money. I was still pretty young, so I didn't have that kind of return, that kind of I didn't have that kind of income, but it was around me, all around me. And I had enough income to where I was doing better than most kids my age at that time, and everything was going really, really well. But we never learned how to sell. We never learned how to sell. Nobody taught us how to sell. There was no sales trainings. The only thing we'd have is a raw meeting. Every Monday, everybody would come in and they would say, "Come on, let's ramp it up, man. We got to do some deals today." The guy that was the officers or the president of the brokerage would come in and get us all. "Yeah, this deal's going to 2 cents. It's going to 3 cents. We're going to take it to 5 by the end of the week. You got to get your money," and people's money's in the end of the day. So we'd all get excited and we'd go out there and sell as much as we could sell. And and I could tell you stories about some of the deals we did. The first deal we ever did was this deal called Touch Dialogues, which is about 1985, 1986, and it was a touch-sensitive computer screen. I have no idea where that thing was going to go, but I didn't follow the company after that. But they had one of the most, at that time, probably one of the most innovative ideas you can imagine, a touch-sensitive screen in 1983, 1984. And they actually had it in supermarkets, where you go into a supermarket, touch a screen to find out where an item was, and that it was King Soopers is where it was at. But that's a long story. I don't want to go into it now. The second deal was a company by the name of Infosystems, or Infosystems was it? Where they actually had swipe transactions at the checkout counter, just like we do today. So all these deals we were doing were billion dollar ideas, but they were just kind of a little bit ahead of their time. But what I want to talk about is I want to talk about how it eventually got to the point where, as the market got harder to sell these speculative stocks, because Ronald Reagan got elected, he got inflation under control, interest rates went down. Now people weren't so desperate to get some huge return back on their money, so they weren't like grabbing these penny stocks anymore. They were kind of shying away from them. So at that point, we weren't order takers anymore. We were salesmen. We had to go from taking an order because somebody was just trying to jump into something because they heard it's going to spiral out of control if you don't jump in today, which is a good tactic, this scarcity thing. There's only going to be a little bit of it, the new issue. There's only so much new issue, which new issue is a new stock to come on the market that's never traded before, and they usually do pretty well the first few days when they first open up. So all that stuff was scary. It helped sell. But then in the late 80s, it wasn't as easy. Nobody wanted to buy because of the fact that this speculation thing had been taken off the table. So now we had to become salesmen. Now we had to call people up and use persuasive techniques to sell people, and nobody knew how, including myself. So for the next period of time that I was there, I watched almost everybody leave, including myself. I decided I had enough of this. I want to go into business for myself, and I want to forget about making phone calls, cold calls all day long, because I just was frustrated with it. I was frustrated with it because I wasn't making any money. So I left. And when I left, I went into business for myself. And as I did for the next 20, 30 years, tried to have businesses for myself. And, as people that have businesses for themselves probably know, there's a lot of losers out there. And I've had a few losers, quite a few losers. So, fast forward till about 10 years ago, I'm back in sales. And for the first time in my life, I've got to really think about how to make a sale, the anatomy of a sale, everything that goes into persuading somebody to give you some money. And salesmen are either the worst paid people in the world or the best paid people in the world, depending on their skills. And I'd like to talk about what I've learned getting these skills to sell, and how this is not show up one day at a position, get on the phone and start making money. That almost never happens, and most people almost always fail. I would say in the high 90s% of people fail in sales, and it's totally unnecessary, because you can be trained how to sell if you listen to the right people and you study the art of sales. And one of the things I would say to study the art of sales is have a script. You got to have a script. And the reason you got to have a script isn't because you don't remember the words, because the words are in your mind, they're in your head. You have a script because you have to follow the same pattern with every person. And that's what takes the feeling of emotion out of it. You cannot be chatty. You cannot be emotional people. You can't invest in every call. You have to go through a pattern, a series of a series of exchanges with a person to get him to a point where you want him to be. I have a script that I use every day when I call people up, and on that script I use arrows, up and down arrows, on how I say things, the tonality I say things, the way I say things. So I'm constantly working on my script and constantly making it better, and I'm constantly perfecting it with people, and that's the way you find out if it works or not, if you get a sale out of it. So the reason for this video, a long explanation, a little bit of history, is that if you're selling, you've got to have a script, and you've got to take every word in that script and you got to analyze it and think about it. Think about the way you're saying, thinking about the tone that you're saying it in, also thinking about how you're even the expression on your face when you say that, and it has to be done precisely every time